AITA, I refuse to do the housework because my younger sister is paid to do the housework and I'm told I have to do it because I'm older. I'm not usually one to complain about fairness or to play the victim. I've always believed in working hard and doing my part, especially when it comes to helping out at home. My parents work hard, and growing up, I understood that it was my responsibility to pitch in where I could. But something happened recently that's been bothering me, and I can't seem to shake it. It's about my younger sister, Lily, and the way my parents have been treating us differently when it comes to chores. Let me start by saying that I love my sister. We're only a couple of years apart, and we've always been close. But for as long as I can remember, there's been this unspoken rule in our house. I, as the older sister, was expected to do more. It wasn't something I ever questioned. From the time I was old enough to hold a broom, I was helping out around the house. At first, it was small things, picking up toys, setting the table, helping fold laundry. But as I got older, the chores got bigger. By the time I was a teenager, I was doing a lot. Washing the dishes, vacuuming, cleaning the bathrooms, even cooking dinner a few nights a week. Lily, on the other hand, was never really expected to do as much. She did her fair share, don't get me wrong, but it was always clear that I was the one in charge of making sure things got done. If the house was messy, it was my responsibility to clean it. If something needed to be done, I was the one who was expected to do it. And I did it without complaint, without expecting anything in return. It was just part of my role in the family, or so I thought. That all changed a few months ago. One evening, I was in the kitchen after dinner, washing the dishes like I always do. Lily was in the living room, watching TV or scrolling through her phone, like she usually does. I didn't think much of it. I was used to doing most of the cleanup myself. But then I heard my mom's voice, low and murmuring, and I glanced up to see her slipping a $20 bill into Lily's hand. I froze, the soapy dish and my hand slipping slightly as my grip loosened. I watched as Lily pocketed the money with a quick smile and a nod, like this was something she was used to. Like this was something normal. My mind raced, trying to piece together what I had just seen. My parents were paying Lily for chores since when? And why wasn't I getting anything? I didn't say anything at first. I finished washing the dishes, dried my hands, and went to my room. I sat on my bed for a long time, just staring at the wall, trying to make sense of it. I thought back over the past few weeks, trying to remember if I had seen this happen before, if there had been any clues that I had missed. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that this wasn't the first time. I had seen Lily with extra money recently, more than usual, and I had just assumed she had gotten it from babysitting or something. But now, it all made sense. The next day, I kept an eye out. Sure enough, after Lily did her chores folding a basket of laundry, nothing too strenuous, my mom handed her another $20. My heart sank. I had been doing the same chores, and more, for years without ever getting a dime. I had never even thought to ask for money. It was just something I did because it needed to be done. But now, seeing Lily get paid for the same things I had been doing for free, it felt like a slap in the face. I tried to talk myself out of feeling upset. Maybe my parents had their reasons. Maybe Lily needed the money for something specific, and this was their way of helping her out. But no matter how I tried to rationalize it, I couldn't shake the feeling of unfairness. It wasn't just about the money, although that was part of it. It was about the fact that I had been doing all this work without ever expecting anything in return, and now Lily was getting rewarded for it. After a few days of stewing in my own thoughts, I decided I couldn't just keep quiet about it. I needed to talk to my parents to understand why they were doing this and to let them know how I felt. So, one evening after dinner, I waited until Lily had gone up to her room, and then I sat down with my mom and dad in the living room. "Can I talk to you guys about something?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Of course, honey," my mom said, looking up from her knitting. My dad muted the TV and turned his attention to me. I took a deep breath. "I've noticed that you've been paying Lily for doing chores, and I'm just wondering why I never got paid for doing the same things. I've been doing chores for years, and I never asked for anything in return, but now it feels like you're rewarding her for something I've always done without complaint. It just doesn't seem fair." There was a long silence as my parents exchanged a look. My dad was the first to speak. "We didn't mean to make you feel unappreciated," he said slowly. "It's just, well, when you were younger, you didn't need the same kind of motivation that Lily does. You were always so responsible, always willing to help out without being asked. We never had to worry about you doing your chores, but Lily, she's a bit different. She needs a little more encouragement, and we thought that paying her for her work might help with that." My mom nodded in agreement. "We're really proud of you, sweetie. You've always been so mature and dependable. But Lily's at a different stage in her life, and we wanted to give her a little incentive to help out more." I listened to their explanation, but it didn't make me feel any better. In fact, it made me feel worse. So, because I had always been responsible and willing to help out, I didn't deserve to be rewarded. Because I had been doing what was expected of me without complaint, I wasn't entitled to the same treatment as Lily. It felt like I was being punished for being a good daughter. I tried to explain how I felt, but it was clear that my parents didn't really understand. They kept saying how much they appreciated everything I had done, how proud they were of me. But words weren't enough. I didn't want praise, I wanted to be treated fairly. If Lily was getting paid for her work, then I should be too. It was as simple as that. Over the next few days, I tried to shake off the conversation, but I couldn't. Every time I saw Lily get paid, it was like a dagger to the heart. It wasn't even that I wanted the money, it was the principle of the thing. The unfairness of it all gnawed at me, making it hard to focus on anything else. I started pulling back, doing less around the house. I figured if my efforts weren't going to be recognized, then why should I keep doing more than my fair share? I still did the basics enough to avoid getting in trouble, but I stopped going above and beyond like I used to. I didn't volunteer to take on extra chores, and I didn't step in to help Lily when she was struggling with hers. If my parents wanted to pay her for her work, then they could pay me too, or they could do the extra work themselves. My parents noticed the change in my behavior, but they didn't say much. I think they were hoping I'd just get over it, that I'd eventually accept the situation and things would go back to normal, but I couldn't. The unfairness of it all was like a weight on my chest, and I couldn't breathe under it. As the weeks went by, I started to distance myself from Lily. It wasn't her fault she didn't ask to be paid, and she wasn't doing anything wrong by accepting the money. But every time I saw her slip that cash into her wallet, I couldn't help but feel a pang of resentment. It started to affect our relationship. We used to be close, but now there was this unspoken tension between us. I didn't want to resent her, but I couldn't help it. One day, after a particularly rough day at school, I came home to find Lily sitting on the couch with her feet up, scrolling through her phone. The house was a mess, dirty dishes piled up in the sink, laundry baskets overflowing, crumbs all over the floor. Normally, I would have just started cleaning without thinking twice, but this time, I just stood there, staring at the mess. "Lily, have you done your chores today?" I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. She looked up from her phone and shrugged. "I was going to, but I had a lot of homework. I'll do them later." I felt something snap inside me. "No, you won't," I said, my voice shaking with anger. "You always say you'll do them later, but you never do. And then I end up doing everything while you sit here and get paid for it." Lily blinked at me, clearly taken aback. "What's your problem? It's not like you don't do anything around here." "That's exactly the problem," I snapped. "I do everything around here, and I don't get paid for it. But you do the bare minimum, and Mom and Dad give you money like you're doing something special. It's not fair, Lily. It's never been fair." Lily's eyes narrowed as she shifted on the couch, her posture becoming defensive. "I do deserve it," she shot back, her voice rising with each word. "Just because you're older doesn't mean you should get all the credit for everything. I do a lot around here too, and I deserve to be paid for it. You're always acting like it's no big deal, but you chose to do everything on your own. You never asked for anything, so don't blame me for getting something you didn't even want." Her words hit me like a slap. I stood there, stunned, trying to process what she was saying. "You think I chose this," I said, my voice low and trembling with barely contained frustration. "You think I wanted to do everything on my own. I didn't ask for this responsibility, Lily. It was just expected of me because I'm the older one. I didn't get a choice." Lily rolled her eyes, her expression exasperated. Come on, you know it's different. You've always been the one who took charge, who made sure everything got done. It's not like I asked you to take over. And yeah, maybe I do get paid for my chores, but that doesn't mean I'm doing nothing. I do my fair share. Your fair share. I could feel the anger bubbling up, hot and relentless, as I stepped closer to her. Lily, you barely lift a finger around here. Folding a basket of laundry or sweeping the floor once in a while doesn't count as your fair share. Do you know how much work it takes to keep this house running? To make sure there's food on the table, that the bathrooms are clean, that the trash gets taken out. I've been doing all of that and more for years, without ever seeing a single dollar for it. And you're sitting here, getting paid for doing the bare minimum. How is that fair? Lily's face flushed with anger, but there was something else there too, maybe guilt, maybe something she didn't want to admit. I'm younger than you, she shot back, her voice rising. I shouldn't have to do as much. I've got school, homework, my own stuff to deal with. And besides, Mom and Dad are the ones paying me. It's not like I'm asking them for money, they just give it to me because they know I need it. Of course you need it, I snapped, feeling my patience wear thin. But why is it that your needs are the only ones being considered? I have school, homework, and my own life too, but that didn't stop me from doing everything around here when I was your age. I didn't get paid for it, though. No one even thought to offer. They just assumed I'd do it because I was the responsible one, because I was older. And I did it, because I didn't think I had a choice. But now, seeing you get paid for doing the same things I've been doing for years without any recognition, it hurts, Lily. It's not fair. Lily crossed her arms over her chest, her eyes flashing with defiance. Maybe it's not fair, but that's just how things are. You're older, so yeah, maybe you have more responsibilities. But I'm not you, and I shouldn't have to live up to your standards. If Mom and Dad want to pay me for what I do, then that's their decision. It's not like you're missing out on anything, you never cared about the money, remember? Her words stung, not because they were entirely untrue, but because they showed just how different our perspectives had become. I had always tried to lead by example, to be the responsible one, to take on the burdens so that Lily wouldn't have to. But now, it seemed like all of that had backfired. She didn't see my hard work as something admirable. She saw it as something to rebel against, something that didn't concern her because she wasn't me. Without another word, I turned on my heel and walked out of the room. I went to the kitchen where my parents were sitting, engrossed in some conversation about work or bills. My heart was pounding in my chest, but I knew I couldn't let this go. If I didn't say something now, I'd never be able to move past it. Mom, Dad, we need to talk, I said, standing in the doorway. My voice was firmer than I felt, but I knew I had to be strong if I wanted to be taken seriously. They looked up, surprised by the interruption. What is it, honey? My mom asked, her brow furrowing with concern. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what I knew was going to be a difficult conversation. It's about the chores and the money you're paying Lily. I don't think it's fair that she's getting paid for doing the same things I've been doing for years without any recognition or compensation. I think if you're going to pay her, you should pay me too. There was a pause as my words sank in, and then my dad sighed, rubbing a hand over his face. Sweetheart, we understand where you're coming from, but it's not that simple. Not that simple, I repeated, incredulous. How is it not that simple? I do the same work actually. I do more work and I've never asked for anything. But now that Lily's getting paid, it feels like everything I've done is being ignored. Why shouldn't I be compensated too? My mom exchanged a look with my dad, one of those silent parental conversations that always made me feel like I was on the outside of some grand decision-making process. Finally, she turned to me with that soft, placating tone that I had come to dread. Sweetheart, we appreciate everything you've done for the family. You've been such a big help, and we're so proud of how responsible and hardworking you are. But you're older, and with that comes certain responsibilities that don't always come with rewards. Lily is younger, she's still learning, and we want to encourage her to take on more responsibilities. So, you're paying her because she's younger? I asked, trying to keep the bitterness out of my voice. Because I don't understand how that's fair. I've been doing this for years, and now, suddenly, she's getting paid for doing less. What about all the years I've put in? Don't those count for anything? My dad shook his head, his expression firm but not unkind. It's not about what's fair, it's about what's right for our family. You're the older one, and yes, that means you have more responsibilities. We didn't pay you because we didn't think you needed that kind of incentive. You've always been so self-motivated, so dependable. We didn't want to undermine that by offering you money. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. So, because I'm responsible, I get nothing? Because I didn't ask for money, I don't deserve it, that's what you're saying? My mom reached out, placing a hand on my arm in what was meant to be a comforting gesture, but it only made me feel more isolated. Sweetheart, it's not about deserving or not deserving. We just didn't think you needed the same kind of motivation as Lily. You've always been so independent, so reliable. We never wanted you to feel like we were taking advantage of that, but we also didn't think you'd need to be paid for something you've always done so willingly. I pulled away from her touch, feeling the lump forming in my throat. But I did need it. Maybe not the money, but the recognition. I needed to know that what I was doing mattered, that it wasn't just expected because I was older. But now, it feels like none of that mattered at all. There was a long silence after that, the kind that felt heavy with all the things that couldn't be said. I could see that my parents were struggling with this, that they hadn't considered how their decision would make me feel. But that didn't make it any easier to accept. We're sorry if we made you feel that way, my dad finally said, his voice gentle but firm. But we're not going to pay you for doing what you've always done. You're a part of this family, and with that comes certain responsibilities. We're trying to help Lily step up, to take on more. It's different for her, and we're trying to support her in that. I wanted to scream, to tell them how unfair this all was, but I knew it wouldn't make a difference. They had made up their minds, and nothing I said was going to change that, so instead, I just nodded. Okay, I said, my voice barely above a whisper, I understand. But I didn't understand at all. As I walked away from the kitchen, I felt a heavy weight settle in my chest, a deep sense of injustice that I couldn't shake. It wasn't about the money, at least, not entirely. It was about feeling valued, about knowing that all the hard work I had put in over the years meant something, and now it felt like it didn't. After that conversation with my parents, I felt like something had shifted inside me. It wasn't an immediate change, more like a slow, creeping realization that I had finally reached my breaking point. I had always been the dependable one, the one who picked up the slack without being asked, but now, it felt like all of that had been for nothing. My efforts, my sacrifices, they didn't matter because they were just expected of me, so I decided to stop. If they didn't value what I was doing, then maybe it was time for me to step back and let them see what life was like without my constant contributions. At first, it was subtle. I stopped doing the little things I used to do automatically, like picking up after everyone else, wiping down the counters, or folding the laundry. I still kept my own space clean. My room was my sanctuary, after all, but the rest of the house, that was no longer my problem. The dishes started piling up in the sink, the laundry baskets overflowed, and the floors were littered with crumbs and dirt. It wasn't long before my parents started to notice. My mom was the first to say something. "Sophia, can you please take care of the dishes? They've been sitting there for days," she said one evening as we were all gathered in the living room. I looked up from my phone, my expression neutral. I thought Lily was supposed to be doing that. After all, she's the one getting paid for it. My mom's eyes narrowed slightly, but she kept her voice calm. "Lily has been busy with schoolwork, and she's not the only one who lives here. We all need to pitch in." I shrugged, not budging. I've been busy with schoolwork too. But when I was doing everything, no one seemed to care whether I was busy or not. So if Lily's getting paid to do chores, then she can handle them. My dad, who had been watching the exchange silently, finally spoke up. "Sophia, you're part of this family, and that means you have responsibilities just like the rest of us. This isn't about money, it's about contributing to the household." I could feel the anger bubbling up inside me, but I kept my voice steady. I've been contributing to this household for years without being asked and without any recognition. Now that Lily's getting paid to do what I've always done, It's only fair that she takes on more. You can't expect me to keep doing everything for free while she gets rewarded." My dad's expression hardened. "This isn't about fairness, Sophia. It's about doing what needs to be done. We're not going to pay you for something you should be doing as part of the family." I could tell that this conversation was going nowhere. They had already made up their minds, and nothing I said was going to change that. But I wasn't about to back down, either. "Then I guess we're at an impasse," I said coldly, "because I'm done doing everyone else's work for free." My parents exchanged a glance, clearly unsure of how to respond. Lily, who had been sitting quietly on the couch during the whole exchange, looked uncomfortable but didn't say anything. She knew, just as well as I did, that this wasn't really about the chores anymore. It was about something much deeper, something that had been brewing beneath the surface for a long time. In the days that followed, the standoff continued. The house grew messy by the day, and my parents' frustration became more apparent. They tried to make light of the situation at first, joking about how the maid had gone on strike, but it didn't take long for their patience to wear thin. "Sophia, this has gone on long enough," my mom said one evening as she stood in the kitchen, glaring at the sink full of dirty dishes. "This isn't a game. The house needs to be cleaned, and you're just sitting here doing nothing." I met her gaze without flinching. "Like I said before, if you're paying Lily to do the housework, then let her do it. I'm not going to keep picking up the slack for her while she gets paid and I don't." My mom's face flushed with anger. "This isn't about the money. Why can't you understand that?" "Because it feels like it is," I shot back, my voice rising. "You're paying her to do the same things I've always done without asking for anything in return, and now you're expecting me to just keep doing them because it's my responsibility. How is that fair?" "We're not going to pay you to do chores, Sophia," my dad said firmly as he joined us in the kitchen. "This is your home, and you need to take care of it, just like the rest of us." I could feel the tears welling up in my eyes, but I blinked them back, refusing to let them see how much this was hurting me. "Then I guess you'll have to figure out how to take care of it without me," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. With that, I turned and walked out of the kitchen, leaving my parents standing there in stunned silence. As I made my way up to my room, I felt a strange mix of emotions: anger, sadness, and a deep sense of betrayal. I had always believed that my family would be there for me, that they would appreciate everything I did for them. But now, it felt like they didn't care at all. They only cared about what was convenient for them, and as long as I was doing the work without complaint, they were happy to let me carry the load. But the moment I asked for something in return, they shut me down. I am an AITA because I refuse to do housework and my sister gets paid for it and I am not appreciated.